Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today's the 24th of April 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Wednesday's afternoon session where we're going to have a look at the markets, a quick look at a few of the charts that we looked at this morning, just to see how they're performing. Some of the instruments, of course, and some of the new ones always I wanted to quickly mention on, but before we jump into the charts, very quickly let's have a read through our risk disclaimer. So the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now then guys, let's quickly jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on here is the DAX. So I was looking at this one this morning, and basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this downside resistance line. So you can see that DAX had a nice pop above that, and managed to reach this other level that I was talking about at around 12,350. So managed to actually just fell off just a few even like not a full point from reaching that level. So yep, perfect hit, let's put it that way. And now it's retracing back down. The big question here is this retracement gonna lead all the way back below this downside resistance line that was that's running here from the high? Let me just remind ourselves here, from the high of January 2018. Will we see a move back below this, or actually is this gonna now act as a good bouncing ground for another push higher, another potential push higher here? So of course, let's not over speculate on this one too much. For now, let's continue observing this one. We did have a nice hit of our 12,350 level. This level now becomes this important breakaway level in order to kind of, let's say, consider higher levels, higher areas, like the 12,460. This is going to be our next target if we see a nice good pop above the 12,350. So for now, we're going to remain somewhat neutral, just continue observing the price action, because it would be a little bit tricky at this point, because it might slide even back down below this downside resistance line. But of course, let's not get ahead of ourselves too much. First, let's, like I said, keep an eye on this downside resistance line. If we see a drop below this downside resistance line, then well, for us, let's say, to start at least looking towards slightly lower levels, we would need to see a drop below the 12,190 zone, this level here that I've mentioned before, and this way we could then target the 12,030 zone, or the same psychological 12,000 level. But as you can see by my arrow here, this is the breakout that we're looking for in order to, let's say, become slightly more bearish. Let's put it that way, and at least aim for this medium-term upside support line taken from the lows of December. So for now, guys, of course, long story short, in order for the upside, what we're looking here for is a nice good pop above the 12,350 level. Until then, we're going to remain neutral. If we see this one traveling back below this downside resistance line, for us to at least start looking at some lower levels, we need to see a drop below the 12,190 zone, and only then we'll consider lower areas. For now, we are slightly more on the neutral territory, yep, we'll wait for that confirmation break first. Jumping into NDX, which is Nasdaq100 here. Now, Nasdaq100 had a fantastic move higher yesterday. You can see by this strong move, of course, it pushed further away. I was talking about this. Index, and I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this level here, the 7,715 level, the previous high here, the newly established high. But yesterday, the Nasdaq100 continued accelerating, and and pushed all the way here towards the 7,810 zone. So it even actually managed to overshoot the 7,800 level, and yep, like as I said, reached the 7,810. Now looking at the cash index right now, it is slightly above this, above the yesterday's close at around 7,815 zone. Of course, let's see how this is going to perform further, because in a way we can say that it did already have a nice run to the upside. It did create a new all-time high already, so in a way we could see maybe a bit of a correction here back down, and the level that we're targeting here is going to be the same 7,715 level. So that's going to be the first for us. If, let's say, if this decides to retrace a little bit lower, and let's say looking at the cash index right now, it seems that it does want to correct a little bit, but if it starts popping above this, if it starts moving away from the 7,810 level to the upside, well, I mean, the sky's the limit for this one right now, and maybe we could target the 7,900 level. But again, it's still a bit tricky here, because we are quite extended here to the upside. But especially looking at this 4-hour chart, we may see a bit of correction, and if it struggles, let's say, to get below this upside support line, because this is what we're going to be looking for in order to, let's say, consider deeper declines here, deeper moves lower in the near term. That's what we need here. We need to see a break below this upside support line. If it continues to trade above this, this is still looking somewhat positive. We could see this one curving up and pushing higher again, but if it starts breaking this upside support line, this tentative upside support line taken from the lows of December 2018, then it could be a slightly different story. For now, it doesn't seem to be the case. For now, we may see a bit of correction. Let's see how deep that correction is going to be, and yep, for now, still overall everything's looking quite positive for Nasdaq100. Jumping into USDCAD now, I talked about this one this morning, and I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this one, because we did have a nice push higher. You can see that just from this morning, the USDCAD is still stuck here near this 134.50 level, maybe just slightly above that, but basically near this area. It continues to trade for the whole day. It's waiting for the BOC and now interest rate announcement. Of course, there are not going to be a lot of surprises there, but in a way, what we're thinking here is that we may see a bit of a Canadian dollar strengthening here, so that's why I do have my arrow here. The same scenario as from this morning. Basically, we could see a bit of a slide back down, and if it continues to trade above this 134 level, then we could see another leg of buying here, potentially maybe dragging this one back above the 134.50 and maybe even higher. So for now, that's our main scenario here. Let's see how this is going to play out. If it starts if the 134 level starts failing, and if we see another a good drop, and let's say a 4-hour candle closing below the 133.90 zone, this is where it could turn out to be quite ugly for USD-CAD, and we could see maybe another slide lower here. So for now, that's the game plan. For now, keep your eyes on this one. Like I said, this is just a quick update on the USD-CAD. I've done this one. I've looked at this one this morning, and yep, keep an eye on the BOC announcement. So, and then that's coming up in about 35 minutes. So keep your eyes on that one. Yep. Jumping into AUDUSD, also a very quick update. This is what I was talking about this morning. Basically, we were looking for a push back towards the 0.7050, and if the pair struggles to overcome that, we may see another leg of selling here, and this is what happened. You can see that it traveled higher initially this morning, failed near the 0.7050, and kind of now it's selling off again. So in a way, what you could do if you've missed this move, in a way, probably stay sharp and careful here, because wait for a good break here, another break below the 0.7023-24 zone approximately here, and then probably target lower areas. And for us, we're only going to drag it here only up until the psychological 0.70 level. After that, we're just going to reevaluate it again and see what it wants to do. We may see maybe a rebound and a push back up. So for now, guys, be very cautious, be very careful. In terms of the upside here, well, we could see, if we see a push above the 0.7050, we still have this downside resistance line for AUDUSD to overcome. If it gets broken, then yep, we could potentially target this this upside support line from underneath, and the area around the 0.71, that could be our target. But for those who are more on the cautious side and are looking for something more near term, maybe wait for a nice good push above the 0.71 level. This could potentially lead towards further moves higher, at least towards the highs of last week. So but then again, that's a bit of a jump here for AUDUSD, so wait for that move here for those who are of course on the more cautious side. So if you're more on the riskier side, in a way you could start looking for some higher levels if we see a push above this downside resistance line. But then again, like I said, there are some good areas of resistance here above, so that's why be very careful when you see a break of this downside resistance line. For now, long story short, guys, we are looking to the downside, but again, for better confirmation of the downside, we need to see a break below the 0.7024 zone. So here, somewhere around here, guys, basically, and then we could target the psychological 0.70. Jumping into GBPUSD, also mentioned this one this morning. We had a nice push higher. It failed again near the 129.60. So this is what I was talking about. So it failed near the end. Now it's kind of trying to maybe push back down again. We are more bearish on this one still, more bearish than bullish, and for now we're targeting just this level here near the 129 zone, because in a way this is where we could see maybe some buying activity coming in, potentially maybe dragging this pair back up again. So for now, for long story short, guys, still looking towards the downside, still aiming for that 129 level, but in case this, let's say, suddenly starts pushing back above the 129.75, this is where we're going to remain somewhat neutral. But if this gets a nice good push above the 1.3030 zone, now this is where it could become a little bit more exciting for the bulls again. So for now, keep your eyes on these key levels. Well, so as I said, on the downside, our target is the 129 for now, and on the upside, we need to see a nice good push above the 129.75 in order to kind of become a little bit more neutral. But in order to just consider higher levels, we need to see a nice good push above the 130.30 zone. Jumping into GBPNZD, now this is a new pair I wanted to quickly touch on, and just to show you what's happening here, basically, as you can see, the pair overall, the pair was trading within this nice wide range from around the end of February, between the 189.50 level on the downside and the 195.45 area on the upside. So today we're having a nice push above that. It's popping to the upside. Of course, let's see where it's going to trade by the end of the day today. If it suddenly, let's say, gets back below this level, now this could mean that the bulls are kind of not really that strong, and maybe this could be just seen as a false breakout on the daily candle. This is a 4-hour chart, by the way. So in a way, for now, keep your eyes on this one. We need to see this one to continue trading above this 1.9545 zone, and only then we can target the 1.9655 area. And just to show you what that level was here in the past, need to scroll back a little bit here, and that was basically near the highs of November 2018. So keep your eyes on this one. This is, like I said, for now we are more bullish than bearish on this one, but then again, we're going to be probably cautiously bullish on this one, because, like I said, it might reverse back down sharply and let's say stay below the 1.9545. If that happens, then we could then target this short-term upside support line taken from the low of the 21st of March. We could see another test of that one, but for now, like I said, it is where it is. For now, if it continues to trade above the 1.9545, then our next target is around the 1.9655 zone. So keep your eyes on this one. Euro dollar, again, very quickly to mention this one. So it continues to slide. This is what I was talking about as well. So basically, I was covering this one this week as well, and I was telling you guys that if this pair struggles to overcome the 1.1228 zone, 2728, something like that here, then we may see another leg of selling, and this is what's happening right now. So we are we are hitting now the 1.1190, so basically falling below the 1.12 zone. Now, what I've mentioned previously as well was that this is going to be the target that we're going to be aiming for, because then we'll just see what it wants to do further. Because if it, of course, if the selling continues, we may see a push towards the 1.1175 zone. And just to show you what that level was here in the past, that was the lowest point of March, and this could be a very nice potential target for a test. So continue observing this 1.1190 level as well, because this is where it got held here in the beginning of April, from which the pair rebounded and pushed higher. So that's why, guys, at the moment we are at a very tricky spot, even though yes, it is more to the downside here, but a very tricky spot. Very important support levels here, the 1.1190 and just slightly below that the 1.1175. Keep your eyes on that one. So basically, in other words, what we can say here is that if we see a drop below the 1.1175 zone, now this is where it could turn out to be even worse for the euro dollar. We could see further slide lower towards the 1.1120 or even below that. For now, continue observing this. In terms of the upside, we need to see now this one traveling above the 1.1228 in order to consider at least some higher levels here. So for now, we're not going to go too much to the upside here. For now, we're going to aim for the 1.1228. That's in the scenario if we see a reversal to the upside, but a nice good pop above this could open the path towards higher levels again. So for now, in other words, guys, in terms of the upside, this is what we are looking for here, a pop above the 1.1228. In terms of the downside, a drop below the 1.1175 could confirm much lower levels. It could, or in other words, could open the path towards much lower levels. So that's why, guys, be very cautious around this area right now. Probably the small suggestion here is just to continue observing it. And the very last pair I wanted to quickly touch on, and that was euro. So the euro against the ruble, you probably don't look at this one very often, but let me just jump into a daily chart on this one. And this is the situation, what's happening here. Of course, since the end of December, the pair was sliding lower, but it's quite already overextended here on even on the daily chart. So in a way, what we're going to do here is, in order to consider higher levels, we would like to see a nice good push above the 72.32 something level like that, something around there. Basically, this would also break this downside resistance line, and the path towards slightly higher levels could be open then. So for now, again, the pair managed to test the 71.41 level and then rebounded, and now it's kind of trying to push higher. So if it does continue to push higher, let's see if it actually manages to break this downside resistance line. And if it does, this would also automatically, like I said, could automatically break this 72.33 level, and then we could target higher areas. This is the potential scenario here for us if we see a nice good pop above this downside resistance line. So keep your eyes on this one. If you don't, then you can ignore it, but just I thought something maybe something more interesting that you probably don't look at very often. So yep, good potential scenario here building up on the euro ruble. Okay, guys, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Just a quick mention that there won't be any traders espresso or tea time tomorrow and on Friday, so we will resume everything on Monday. So I hope you have a wonderful time, guys. Hope you have good trading days on Thursday and Friday, and a wonderful weekend this weekend. Okay, guys, I'll see you later. Thank you very much. Bye bye.